Welcome to Color Up Poker. I'm here at the poker room at the Grand Sierra Resort here in Reno, Nevada. And I have a lot of questions, and maybe I can answer some of them for you. Well, actually, Josh here is the poker manager, and hopefully you can answer them.
Yeah.
For if you have a lot of questions, if you're playing for the first time especially, I know this is going to be helpful for me. Hopefully it'll be helpful for you. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. What do you say?
Yeah, I'll do my best and we'll have some fun.
Okay, let's do it. All right, so Josh, first off, I got to buy in, right? So
yeah.
I know there's a counter up front, but you can buy chips at the table, I guess. What it would be the proper way? I'm ready to play. I'm heading out here. What do I do?
So if you're already sitting down at the table, you can buy chips with the dealer. Okay. If you're walking into the room as a new player, generally we'd have you buy chips at the counter with the supervisor.
Okay.
But looks like you're already sitting down, so,
so
you can just buy in right here at the
literally
table.
I just bring out my cash and put it on the table?
Yeah, that's it.
I'm used to craps, so I wait until come out roll and then put it down. Is there a certain time? Does it matter?
Not really. If it's during a hand, the dealer will usually wait until the hand's over.
Sure.
And then once the hand's over, they'll usually ask you like, you want some chips? Yes, sir. Okay, the dealer will take your money. You want $100. They'll take your money. They'll usually count it out in front of them like this. Show it for the cameras for surveillance. Verify that it's $100. And you get your $100 buy-in. Okay, but typically that's just for refills or anything like that. So normally I would just head to the front counter and just tell them I want to buy in for 200, 300, whatever it is. Yeah, so if you're on the waiting list waiting to play, okay, and then your seat becomes available, we'll call you. You'll come in, you'll say, hey, my name's Jeremy. You just called me for 1-2 no limit. We'll ask you how many chips you'd like to buy in for. The minimum buy-in is 100, and you'll usually take care of that at the counter before you sit down. So
I'm going to be new. I'm going to be playing 1-2. What is you said the minimum is 100. Is there a maximum? Is there a kind of a typical buy-in, especially here that you see at the GSR, or what's?
Yeah, the typical buy-in is $100 to $300.
Okay. And is there maximums? What's the
maximum in our room is 1,000. The minimum is 100. Like a typical poker room, you might see their maximum buy-in for a 1-2 or a 1-3 game be $300 or $500. Here we've set ours a little bit higher at 1,000. Or you can match the biggest stack at the table if the game is a little bit bigger and you want to gamble a little bit more.
Okay. And I'm guessing like on the weekends you're seeing the bigger games. Is that?
Yeah, weekends at night, people are drinking, having a little bit more fun, gambling a little bit more.
Okay.
The games usually play a little bit bigger. If you're looking to play a game that's a little bit more mellow, you generally want to play during the day.
Okay, so you told me earlier if there's a waiting list, I get on the waiting list, but whenever you call me, I buy my chips. If there's a waiting list, there's probably only one seat at the table and that's where I sit. But let's say there's couple seats open. Does it matter, or how do I choose a seat, or what's that? Can I just sit down anywhere? Or?
Yeah, so usually the only direction you'll get from the supervisor is what table you're sitting at.
Okay.
If there's more than one table running, they will tell you, Jeremy, you're on table number 1. Okay, and then when you go to table number 1, usually you can pick any open seat at the table. If there's one of these reserve buttons sitting at a seat, that means that there's a player that maybe has exited the game, gone to the bathroom, or went to the ATM, and they're holding that seat for the player.
Okay.
So you wouldn't be able to sit in that seat, but any seat that doesn't have a reserve button at it, and obviously a player in the seat, yeah, you can sit at any open seat.
So that brings up something. So you can leave the table, you can go get a drink or restroom. Can you get something to eat? Like how long, basically, can you hold your spot for?
Once you get up, the dealer will start you on a timer for your seat. If you've been gone for over 30 minutes and there's a waiting list, you may get picked up by the supervisor.
Okay.
And they may put a new player into the game just to kind of keep the game full and keep running.
Okay.
A lot of people can disappear into the casino, and
I might get stuck at the craps table.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know why I'm taking a break to play craps, but that would be me.
Yeah. So if you're gone longer than 30 minutes, you might get picked up. Usually the supervisor will just put you right back onto the list. They may put you right back into the game when you get back if you let them know before you leave, like, hey, I'm going to dinner. I'll be back in an hour.
Okay.
They may tell you, yeah, Jeremy, that's fine. We'll put you back on the list. That way, when you come in,
Gotcha.
you know, you'll be at the top when you get here, and we can probably put you right back into the game.
Can you eat at the table if you want? Like, is that frowned upon, or I know like on TV you always see people like eating sandwiches and different things, but
here we do not allow you to eat at the table.
Okay.
It varies from room to room. COVID.
I actually kind of appreciate that.
Yeah, it can be. It has.
It's kind of gross.
Yeah, exactly. It has its positives and negatives, right? So it can. You know, some people are messy eaters, right? You get. You know, you're eating a burger or fries or chicken wings, and now you get them on your hands and you're touching the cards. So COVID kind of did away with allowing people to eat at the tables. And then we just, you know, after some of the COVID restrictions were lifted, we just continued to not allow people to eat at the table. And it actually, I think most people prefer it. If people need to eat, you know, they can get up from the table and take a few minutes away and eat and come back. So that works best. So.
And I know smoking's not allowed in poker rooms, right? But
correct.
Obviously, you can take a break, right, if you need to.
Yeah, correct. So we don't. Pretty much all poker rooms are non-smoking. Ours is non-smoking. Yeah, if you need to smoke, you just step out at the casino floor.
Perfect. So let's go ahead and shuffle up and deal and see what I got here.
Okay, perfect. So. The dealer will deal everybody 2 cards.
And you start with the small blind, right?
Correct.
Okay. The small blind, big blind, which are forced bets, and then I guess the first to act or first person to look at their cards, or does it matter? Do you have to look at the cards in order, or how does that kind of work?
Yeah,
Can I look at them as soon as I get the cards?
So the action goes in turn, okay? And it's always based on where the button is and where the blinds are. The action always starts with the first player directly after the blinds.
Okay.
So in this game, the blinds are $1 and $2. The first player here will start the action. It's called under the gun in poker, and so to them it's $2 to call, and they can. In this game, it's 1-2, no limit, so they can raise. The minimum raise is $4, and they can raise anything beyond that they want right now. Every time it's your turn, you have 3 options. You can call the bet, you can raise, or you can fold if you're facing a bet. If you're not facing a bet, then your options are you can either check or bet.
Okay. So let's say they all fold to me. Is that the appropriate time to look at my cards, or can I look at my cards at any time? Or
you can look at them at any time.
Okay.
Usually, I guess
you want to hide them, right? Is that?
Yeah. So in general, the best way to kind of look at your cards in this game, if you have your 2 cards, is to people either look at them this way and kind of cover one side with your hand like this.
Okay.
Okay. Or sometimes people have them this direction and they look at them this direction and cover them with their other hand like this.
Okay.
You just want to try to cover your cards so the player next to you can't see them.
Obviously, right? Makes sense.
Yeah, it's
okay.
a crucial part of the game.
I guess I guess there's people who put chips on a card, or I've seen little figurines, or what are they putting things on their cards?
So it's called protecting your hand. Exactly. Right. So if you don't have your own personal chip card protector, some people will have they might have a special coin or something,
something lucky, right?
Yeah, something with a picture of their dog on it or something.
Doesn't really matter.
No.
Okay.
If you don't have anything of your own, you can just use a chip, which is probably the standard, the most common thing that people just use a chip, and they do exactly what you've done right there. If they see you have a chip on your card, then they know that you're playing your hand. If you're sitting here like this, and you're in that seat, and you have your cards sitting there like that, and they're not protected with a chip, and it's your turn, and the game is moving fast, the dealer's moving fast, the dealer may mistakenly think that you're folding your hand right now and taking cards like this. Okay?
Right, an inch or two might make a big difference, right? If I'm having them here, and,
yeah,
or whatever, right?
Yeah, it really does.
Okay.
And if you don't put a chip on top of them, then the other option is to kind of just hold them in your hand like this.
Okay.
You just want to make sure that they're visible to the dealer.
Okay.
So you don't want to cover your cards with your hand like this or like this, because it can cause the dealer and the players to think that you folded or not know that you're in the hand.
Okay.
And it can cause mistakes to be made during the hand.
Okay. So it sounds like the best
Yep.
would be just to have them in front of you and put a chip on it.
Yeah, that's
or
the
some
best.
sort of card protector. Okay.
Yeah, that's the best option.
Okay, so I look at my hand. It's not that great. I've watched the other players. It comes down to my turn, and I do want to fold it. Do I just kind of toss them in the middle of the table? Do I push them forward? What's kind of the best procedure to do that? I'm taking off. I just don't want the hand. It's not very good. But.
Yeah, when you're sitting right here, you can do a couple things. You can kind of just slide them in like this is probably the easiest way.
Okay.
You know, if you pick them up, you basically just want to kind of put them into the center right here like this.
Okay.
Then the dealer knows that you.
So not a big deal. Just get them out of this here in front of me. And
Yep. Over most poker tables will have some sort of a betting line, some sort of a circle in the middle of the table.
Okay.
If you're making a bet or if you're folding your cards, you want to put your cards into the middle of the table. Then the dealer knows that you folded. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So checking out my cards. I like it. I want to call the bet.
Okay.
So the bet's $2. I don't have $2. So what do I do here?
So if you don't have any $1 chips, you can just put out a single $5 chip without saying anything, and that signifies a call. So in poker, it's called the single chip rule.
Okay.
If you're facing a bet and you only put out one oversized chip, then it would be considered a call. You could put out in this same instance, you could put out a single $25 chip, and if you don't say anything, that also just means call.
Okay.
You could put out a $100 chip, and it's the same thing. If you don't say anything, then it's just a call.
Okay, so it's a $2. Even though I put out that $25 chip, it's still just a $2 bet. And so, would you just give me change then? Or?
Correct. Yep. So the dealer would go ahead and put your 5 out. Now the dealer knows that you've called because you just put this out and you didn't say anything. The dealer would take $5 out of their tray. They would put $2 down for you and give you $3 change. They would take the $5 and put it in their tray like that.
What you said, if I didn't say anything, what if I did say anything? So I could say, well, call. I don't have to say anything, it's a call, but if I did want to raise it to 5, I would have to say that?
Yes. So if you do want to make it 5, the bet's 2 when it gets to you. If you wanted to raise to 5, you could just say raise and put the $5 chip out. Or you could say anything that allows the dealer to know that it's you could say make it 5, raise to 5, anything along those lines.
Okay, so the same with one chip is an automatic call. If I put out 2 chips, I don't have to say anything?
Correct, and that would be considered a raise, even if you did not say anything. So this would be a raise to $10.
Okay. And I noticed you kind of move them. What is the procedure? I know because I've seen people kind of just put them out, or some people stack them. Some people kind of splash them a little bit. What am I supposed to be doing if 25, I want to go to $35 here? Yeah,
so usually you want to kind of determine how much you want to raise or bet, kind of get it counted out over here in your own little personal area behind the betting line.
So and I got 35 here.
Yep, right? And then once you've decided how much you want to bet or raise, it's always a good rule of thumb to make a verbal declaration of that. So because then that way it's clear to the dealer and to the other players what you want to do. So now if you've determined that you want to raise to $35, usually it's best to say raise make it 35 or raise to $35.
Okay.
It's not necessary, but it will prevent mistakes from being made.
Especially as new people, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So I'm not calling or messing something up, or we'll talk about it in a minute, but there's minimum raises you have to meet and that sort of thing, right? So,
correct.
Okay, so raise 35. Now, do I leave it stacked? What do I need to do there?
That part doesn't really matter. The dealer will take care of that part for you. So as long as you put all of the chips at once into the center in one motion, we can talk about what that means later. But you want to gather all of your chips, whatever you want to bet or raise to, and put them all in the center all at once. It doesn't matter if you leave them in a stack, if you splash them out like this, if you cut them into multiple stacks of 10, it doesn't matter.
So there really is no best practice for that?
Not really, it's pretty much just personal preference.
Okay. So I can raise 35, just push it across the betting line, and I'm good there?
Correct, yep.
Okay. So you did mention one act. Now I can't make a bet like that, right? Is my understanding?
So it goes back to the verbal declaration thing again.
Okay.
If you announce what you want to bet, it doesn't matter how many motions it takes you to put your chips out there.
Okay.
So if you say, if it's your turn and you say, raise to 15, you can go like this. And that's fine, because you announced what you wanted to do before your action. If you didn't announce out loud what you wanted to do, and you tried to do that, now it's Jeremy's turn, and you don't say anything, and you do that. Now the raise is 10.
Okay.
Even if you had,
even if I wanted to make it 15, whatever.
Correct.
Okay.
You can't add anything on to your
so
bet.
One motion if I'm not saying anything.
Correct. It's called a string bet, and so that's one sign of a new player is somebody that does a string bet. So if you can eliminate that from your game,
I'll look like a pro.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. Exactly. Nobody will be able to tell that you're new if you don't do a string bet. So.
All right, perfect. Okay, so one thing I've noticed, maybe it's I'm watching too much poker on TV or YouTube or whatever, but
there's no such thing as too much.
I like that. But no one seems to raise a normal amount. So no one goes like $20. It's always like 35 or 17, or it's these kind of weird non-rounded even numbers, to me anyway.
Right.
Is that just more getting into the math and that sort of thing, or is it? Why is that happening?
At the lower stakes, it's usually not. It's just a personal preference, depending on the amount of action in the game, depending on how often people are raising or how tight or loose that they're playing. They'll raise different amounts.
Okay.
And in 1-2 no limit, the standard what you would call opening raise can vary from game to game. So in a tighter game with less action, where the people aren't maybe gambling as much, the raise may, if you're facing a $2 bet like this, and you want to raise, a standard might be to $7.
Okay, so basically $5 more.
Yeah, that would be standard. In general, live poker, especially the low stakes, like 1-2 no limit, the opening raises tend to be a little bit bigger than online. Okay. In an online game, if you were playing 1-2 no limit online, the standard would be $6 or maybe $5. But in live poker, for some reason, the standard opening raises tend to be a little bit bigger.
Yeah, and I've seen like these Texas card houses, they're betting like $15 and stuff to open. So
the games
it's
are
just
really
looser.
good.
Okay. There was one thing I forgot to ask you. As far as how much you can raise, so if I raise to 15, what can the next guy raise to? Because you have to double it, or what's the rule for raising?
Yeah, so you always have to at least double the previous raise.
Okay.
So in this instance, let's make it an even number for simplicity. Okay, let's say you raise to
we'll do the standard
$7. Okay. So now it was your turn and you raised to $7. The bet was 2. You raised $5 more. Okay. Now the minimum that the next player can raise would be another $5. So the minimum that they could make it would be $12.
Okay, I'm not sure if I follow that. So,
right, and this is a common misconception where you may think that, especially beginner players, you might think that, oh, the bet was 7,
right,
and I have to double the 7, so the minimum would be 14.
Right.
Well, technically, you could make it 14. That would be totally fine.
Okay.
The
so double or above is fine, but
correct.
Okay.
In this instance, the raise was $5.
Okay.
Okay. So the minimum that the next person can raise would be an additional $5.
So he has to make it $10.
The minimum that they would be able to raise would be $5 more, which would be a total of $12.
Oh,
so the next player would have to at least raise another $5 like that.
Okay.
So if you're in kind of a normal game, right?
So big blind, small blind. I'm going to raise to 7, right?
Okay.
Standard opening here at
Sure.
GSR.
Go ahead. $7.
Raise to 7.
Okay. So let's say it got around to this player here, and they wanted to re-raise you. Okay. They have pocket aces or pocket kings, and now they want to re-raise.
So the small blind folded.
Okay.
I guess it would just go in the pot. Okay.
Yep. And so a standard size for that player would be maybe, let's say, and it varies from player to player.
Sure.
But might be something like $22 or maybe $20. Again, it depends on the player and depends on different situations in the game, but in general, it's about 3, maybe 4 times this raise. So, maybe they make it $30. So something like that.
Okay. And then, so if he made it $30, well, let me you brought up something that caught my eye. I just want to call, and I noticed some people pull back their chips. So if I did 25 here, and I got 5 out here, I could and pull my own chips back, or should I not touch them and let the dealer do that sort of thing?
That's okay to do in that instance. It's still within the rules of the game for you to call the $30 bet and take your $2 back like this.
Okay.
Now, in general, you want to allow the dealer to make the change for you.
Okay.
So one instance where you would not want to.
As a beginner, I probably don't want to. I don't feel comfortable doing that for sure.
Right.
So I would probably.
I'll show you one.
Say call.
I'll show you one instance where. So if we backtrack just a little bit.
Okay.
Okay. Where you do not want to make your own change. Okay. Let's say it's Jeremy's turn, and you don't have any white chips. Okay. And you want to raise to $7.
Okay.
So now you know that you have to verbalize what you want to do.
Raise to 7.
Okay. Now, as a beginner player, and somebody that plays home games a lot, your first instinct might be, oh, I made it 7. I need $3 out of the pot. So you grab your $3 like that.
Right.
You don't want to do that in the casino, okay? Because the dealer will take care of that for you, and it will cause mistakes and confusion at the table. So you just verbalize what you want to raise to, and then let the dealer make the change for you.
Okay. Okay, so we're not going to cover how to play poker, the flop, turn, river, all that sort of stuff for this video, maybe another one. But I do have a question about showdown, which is basically when we come down to the final 2 hands or 3 hands or whatever it is. We've all matched our bets,
okay,
and all the cards are out. Some people just hide what are the rules when you have to show your cards and when you can muck, I guess is the term, to throw them in?
Yeah, folding or muck.
Seems to be like sometimes you do show them and don't show them. What is online? It's just done for you. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
So what do you do here in the casino?
So when all else fails, generally the dealer will tell you when it's your turn to show your cards if you don't know.
Okay.
If you don't want to look like a newbie, then you want to do it on your own, right? Okay. Let's say it's just you and one other player here. Okay. And let's say you're playing for this money here, okay? And we've played all the way to the end of the hand, right? Okay, and now it's time to show down. it depends on a couple different things. If nobody bet on the final card, then the player closest to the button would show their cards first.
Okay.
So in this scenario here, if on the river
So
card
we both checked.
they went check, check, this player would show their hand first. Okay. So they would show, and they got a good hands, and so they would, and then you would be.
I'm not gonna beat them, so.
If you can't beat them, you are not required to show your cards.
Okay.
Okay. So you can just fold your cards.
So I may have been bluffing the whole time or whatever. So
Correct.
I can just fold them.
Correct.
Okay.
Now this player that's in the hand could ask to see your cards, but nobody else at the table can ask to see your cards. Generally, they will not do that. It's poor etiquette in a poker game to ask to see a losing hand. But they do have the right to see it, and if you are in the same situation, technically you do have the right to ask to see the other player's hand if you are still in the hand with that player.
Okay.
But usually it's frowned upon. It's an etiquette thing. Most time people don't do it.
So what happens if I did bet on the last card? I saw the 8. I liked it. I'm either bluffing or that helped me.
Right.
I put in a big bet.
Okay, so let's say, so now
So
the
last
dealer's
game
done.
card came out, and I'm betting
You
stack
bet,
more.
let's say you bet $15, or sorry, you bet, okay, you bet $45. Now if this player folds, you do not have to show your cards.
Okay.
And you can just, once the dealer awards you the pot, you can just slide them in face down.
Okay.
Okay. Now we'll go back. We'll backtrack and say, let's say that player did call your bet. Okay. Right. So that was the pot. Okay. This player still has his cards, and now
He likes his 3 of a kind, which we already know. But
Right.
Okay.
he's probably going to call you with that hand.
Yeah.
So let's say call. So now on the river card, this player checked. You bet $45, and they called. Since you bet and they called you, you would be required to show your hand first. And if you didn't know that, the dealer would say, Jeremy, this gentleman called you, you have to show first, okay?
So it's because I made the bet, the caller doesn't have to show, I have to show first.
Correct.
So he called me, and is it as soon as he pushes the chips over and says call, or?
Again, this is a situation where it kind of depends, right?
I guess as you get more comfortable.
Yeah, as you get more comfortable with the game, you'll kind of learn the nuances of, you know, if you were like on this, if you had a flush on this hand, and you bet and he called, yes, you would turn your cards up right away.
Yeah, I'd be
proudly,
happy to say I beat you.
Yep.
But I got nothing here, so.
So in this case, where you had nothing, technically you are still required to show your cards first.
Okay.
But the way poker works in real life is that if you were to bet and you were bluffing and this person called, usually you would just tell the person like, "Oh, you're good."
Okay.
They would show their hand, like, "Okay, they have 3 of a kind," and you're like, "Okay," and you just fold your cards in face down. Now again, they can still ask to see your cards, but
because that's could be good information
Right.
of what I was bluffing with or whatever.
correct.
Okay.
But just the fact that when they called you, you immediately said, "You're good. I don't have anything." Most of the time, the other player will just show their cards,
Okay.
and then you can fold face. You can just fold face down.
Okay.
Now,
so yeah, there's a lot of options there.
There's a lot of variables. There's
Okay.
some different situations where, you know, depending on the player, you may make the $45 bet on the river trying to bluff, and this player calls you, and you say, "You're good, man, I don't have anything," and this player's like, "Well, show your cards or fold them." That will happen sometimes, and they, you know, because they want to see your cards. They want to see what you were bluffing with, and if you don't want to show them,
I mean, they paid for it.
correct?
I guess they should.
So now, if you're looking at this hand and you know there's no way that you could win, you can still just, you know, fold your cards face down. Now, Now this player isn't necessarily required to show their cards because you folded your hand and they're the only player left in the hand.
So they automatically win.
So they're going to win by default, yes.
Okay. All right, Josh, so I just won a big hand. Question about tipping, how does that work?
Okay, let's make a pot here. All right, let's say that you won this money.
Nice.
Pretty good sized pot, right?
Right.
So that's about $120, okay? The dealer will take the pot and they will push it to you, okay? In live poker, it's common practice to tip the dealer after every hand. Sometimes on very small pots where maybe you only win the blinds, $1 and $2, you may not tip the dealer if you only won $3. But I'd say a good rule of thumb in a 1-2 no limit game is if you win $10 or more, usually it's not required, but it's a common practice in the game to tip them something, and it's at your discretion, right?
Okay. Pretty much standard with any tipping. It's obviously it's not required, but okay,
correct.
It's kind of what you do.
Yep. Generally in live poker, a dealer gets tipped after every hand. So
I just won. Not everyone's tipping, right? Just the winner of the pot, or
yeah, the winner of the pot tips the dealer after the hand.
Okay.
So in a case like this, again, it depends on the player.
How generous or whatever I want to be.
Yeah, exactly. Like if for instance, somebody that's a poker dealer or in the poker industry may take a pot like this and tip the dealer $5. But I'd say on average, a tip like this would probably be maybe like $2, right?
Okay.
$2 to $3.
And I just throw them in the middle after I got my pile here? Or?
Yep, you would just pick up a couple dollars out of your pot and just throw them into the dealer like that. And the dealer knows, because of the flow of the game, they know that you were throwing that into them as a tip.
It's not a blind or whatever.
Right.
Okay.
And they would take the tip. They'll say, "Thanks, Jeremy." Tap it on the tray and put it in their tote box.
And I can't leave my chips like this. At that point, I need to get busy stacking all my chips, right?
It's the best part of poker, stacking chips. Yeah.
Right. I'm stacking up all my chips. I have a question of when can I leave the game, or is it good? I just want a huge pot. I'm like, you know what? I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Is there a rule of when you can or can't leave, or?
Technically, no.
Okay. Technically, I can leave anytime I want.
Correct. You can leave anytime you want. Now, if we're talking about kind of, again, an etiquette type of thing, be prepared that if you win a big pot and you immediately rack all that money up to get relief, you may get needled by some of the players at the table.
Okay.
They're like, "Oh, you're going to hit and run," or "Oh."
Because I just took all their money.
Right.
Okay.
Which again is totally fine. It's, you're playing you want to win.
Right.
So, but in general, I'd say if you want to kind of
I don't want to be known as the jerk at the table.
Right.
So
I'd recommend playing maybe a few more hands.
Okay.
Maybe in general the best a good rule of thumb when to leave the table is when it's going to be your big blind. So you want to play, you paid your blinds, your $3, you kind of paid your dues. So you want to play all of your hands, your free hands.
Might as well, right? I get some free hands, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the button's going to go around the table. You're stacking your chips. You play another hand. The button's going around, and now all of a sudden, boom, the button's over here, and it's your turn to be the big blind. You may be like, I'm done. Go ahead and deal me out.
So who am I communicating that I'm leaving? Just dealer? Just hey, I'm gonna leave, or thanks for playing, guys, or what's?
Just the dealer is the only one that really needs to know.
Okay.
Again, it depends how social you are. If you've made friends at the table, you're like, I'm out of here, guys. Have a nice day. But just let the dealer know so that they don't deal you in.
And then if I'm losing, obviously, no one cares if I'm walking away, right?
Right. Exactly.
Okay. All right. So if I win, maybe just wait for one time around the table.
Yep.
Okay. So I do have one more question. Well, table talk. What can you talk about as far as etiquette? I know if I'm playing cards or in a hand, I guess you would call it. I'm not going to be talking about anything. But what about the other people that are already out of the hands? And
yeah. So poker rules are pretty straightforward. You're playing against the other players at the table. You don't want to be talking out loud during the hand about what cards you folded, about what you may see on the board. If if you see, say there's a 4-card straight on the board, and you're not in the hand, you wouldn't want to say out loud, "Oh, somebody has a straight." So things like that. You want
to avoid anything about the game
while the hand's in play. After the hand's in play, after the hand is over, you can talk about whatever you want about the hand.
I can ask them what cards he had. If anything I want.
Yeah, they'll definitely lie to you if you ask them what they had. But yeah, during the hand, it's also against the rules to, let's say you're still in the hand, but this player has folded.
Okay.
And now you're showing them your cards in the hand and kind of chatting about it. That's against the rules. So it's 1 player per hand. And if you do that, you'd be prepared to be, kind of told by the dealer, like, "Sir, 1 player per hand." So again, if you're in the hand, you cannot ask anybody else's advice during the hand. You're on your own.
Okay.
But after the hand, you can talk about whatever you want. So.
I have my player's card. Does that work in a poker room? And especially here at the GSR, what kind of perks do I get if I actually use my Infinity little plug there? Yeah. Player's card.
Yeah. So here we have it's called Infinity Rewards. When you sit down at the poker table, the first thing the dealer will ask you is if you have a player's card. Here we have some really great promotions that are associated with it just in poker.
So I bought in up at the counter,
right,
and I came to the table with my chips. So I show the dealer my card, or up when I bought the chips?
When you sit down at the table, you'll give the dealer your card.
Okay.
So when you sit down, generally the dealer will say, "Hey, Jeremy, welcome to the table. Do you have a player's card?"
Okay.
"Yeah, I do." Okay, the dealer will take your card and they will clock you into the table. Okay, so they'll swipe your card. They'll say Jeremy's in seat 1. Okay, they'll give you your card back. "Good luck, Jeremy." Okay, now you're clocked in as a poker player here. In poker, here you always get $2 an hour in comp dollars that you can spend in any of the restaurants or any of the outlets here.
Okay. So beyond that, you run a promotion.
Correct.
Okay, so what's that look like?
So the promotion that we're running right now, it's called the Cash Out Challenge. Every month we fund a $10,000 prize bank, and based on the number of hours that you play, you can earn a portion of that bank up to $500.
Like just cash?
Yeah.
So how many hours am I playing to earn $500 cash?
In order to earn $500 cash, you have to play 80 hours in a month. So it ends up being a little over $6 an hour, which is essentially it's kind of almost like a full rake back. Essentially, when you play poker, the house makes money by taking a percentage of the pot as a rake, and that's how the house makes money in a poker game. So by us doing this promotion, you're essentially kind of almost playing for free while you're playing here.
So we'll cover rake in another video, and that's essentially every time there's a pot, the casino keeps a percentage so they can run and operate, which makes sense. But you're saying with this promotion that you guys are running, we actually get about $6 an hour back.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's a really popular promotion, and the players really like it. If you cash out, if you've already cashed out one time during the month, you can cash out a second time for an equivalent amount or less of free play.
All right, so let's say I played the 80 hours in like a few weeks. I've been playing a lot, and you're going to hand me $500 cash.
Right.
And then I play another 30 hours.
Yeah, so if you play an additional 30 hours during the same month, after you've already cashed out your $500, you could earn another $150 in slot free play.
Free play, okay.
Correct, yeah.
Nice.
And it's so that makes that promotion really great because we're the only poker room in town that offers that runs a promotion that gives away free play as well. So
yeah, very nice. I like it. Anything else? Well, why should we come to the GSR and play? Well, besides Josh, of course.
Yeah, I mean, GSR is a great property in general.
Yeah.
Besides having a really great poker room, we've got our poker room has really great promotions, great staff. The dealers are really friendly. There's really great action, especially on the weekends. We've got tournaments every day. Especially, they're really great for beginners. They're lower buy-in tournaments. So you only have to invest $60 and you can kind of get your feet wet playing a poker tournament. And the GSR in general is just a really great. It's a great property. It's got a lot going on. We've got something for everybody.
Yeah.
You can come here with the family. The wife and the kids can go to the pool or go to Fun Quest, the arcade.
Yeah, it's definitely a resort that kind of got all the bases covered. So if you're definitely looking to play poker, come out here to the poker room, and Josh will take care of you. And
absolutely.
Yeah, good luck on coloring out.
Great.